When last we left our intrepid adventurers, we had met with Kylenar's old party, including past Kylenar and past Aurora, and Rook and Melvin were the other two, I believe.
Yeah.
Dastria was no longer with them. And we had our typical cacophonous try and figure out what to say to people at the last second, even though we've had months of in-game time to prepare. And what was decided was they would want to interview our Kylenar and our Aurora. Since those are the individuals that are in their party now, they can vouch for themselves. But we had to talk with Kylenar first to tell him about how time travel works and what he can and cannot tell them.
You must tell him about the Jenga tower.
Yes, we told him about the Jenga tower. Had all these analogies for how time works, but for some reason none of the analogies were a Jenga tower, and so I finally was like, now imagine time is a stack of wooden bricks. But yeah. Anyway, he was very upset because for months he's been expecting that he's going to save all of his old party, but, you know, and I guess he's rightly upset to have been sent on a quest without being given vital, need-to-know information about the quest that he's on. That would be a real dick move. You know, sending someone out on a quest like that was like really super important, but not telling them the super important things. And, you know, telling them, you know, there's these restrictions, but not why there's those restrictions. It would, yeah. We're terrible people. We're really terrible. Anyway.
But yeah, he didn't take it very well because it was super disappointing at the last second, right?
Yeah.
Like if you think something awesome's gonna happen at the last second, it's like no, it's totally not happening.
Yeah. We did tell him that, you know, we could come back and try to rescue his party as a second trip. But, you know, things are hard enough as it is trying to save the world.
Right.
Without trying to tamper with, you know, but pull his party out of the time stream.
Right.
We did briefly consider it. We were like, yeah, maybe we can just have them all evacuate to our present day, and that shouldn't pull any Jenga blocks because they disappeared.
Right.
I assume no corpses were left when you're killed by the void monster or something.
That would probably mess up the two people's like history though.
Past Kylenar and past Aurora?
Yeah.
Well, past Aurora is going to get messed up anyway because she's supposed to die here.
Right.
We may have to bring her.
But if she doesn't die, then future Aurora.
It's complicated.
Yeah.
We may have to kill her.
Right.
Which will be another difficult thing to sell to Kylenar, I think. But you know, we may not have to because the Jenga tower will fall and kill her anyway. Yeah, I don't know. It's complicated. We figure one thing at a time. Save the world first, and then sort out the rest of the time stream mess at our leisure. We can have a do-over on rescuing his party if he really wants to, and if we can think of a way to do it. But for now, we just want to do the thing to kill the void monster.
Right.
The end of all things, I should say. That's its name. Cricket and Rook are kind of the party spokespeople that talk to each other so that we can avoid having all the mess. Apparently, we're each the sanest representative of our particular party.
Of course.
Cricket and Rook arrange, you know, meetings with the two Kylenars and the two Auroras, and those apparently go off quite well. I can't remember. Did Kylenar go off to the little room with himself? I don't think we witnessed. Yeah, I don't think we witnessed the meeting.
Yeah, I guess not. I can't remember what I said about it, but yeah.
But we were listening for Jenga blocks to be pulled, and no Jenga blocks were pulled. So Kylenar must have
done it right.
Yeah, right, because I didn't have him, because he came up to the other party, the past party, and he told Pastor, "Oh, it's so good to see you." And Kylenar was like had a weird expression on his face when he said that. He
was pulled a Jenga block, yeah.
It didn't pull a Jenga block, but
there was one that got pulled at some point. I remember.
I think it was just the leftover one from when he was blabbing on about we found Dastria before you guys shut him up.
Yeah.
But yeah, he had his interview. Aurora had her interview, but Aurora doesn't remember that life, so
yeah, she couldn't really say much.
Basically pointless. But Robin was role playing both past and future Auroras,
right?
And they got along very well, and they were quite sure that each other was each other.
They had these two. She had these two chairs, and she was swapping back and forth between the chairs to represent which one she was. So yeah, those interviews went well, and we basically convinced past Kylenar's party that we were basically on the level about being time travelers, and we can't really tell you much, but we're here to help with one small detail that we need to fix later on.
Right.
Until then, everything should go as it did before. And so we told them, okay, now you guys loot the city, or whatever.
Do whatever you would do.
Do what you're going to do. You're going to come here and investigate the city. Go on into the city. We'll wait out here. and so we go and camp out on this little hill or whatever, and we watch as they have this enormous epic battle with this fantastical psychic creature that infests the ruins, and there's we blew the special effects budget completely on this thing. This epic flashing lights and mind warping spells, amazing, and we're all just sitting out here and it's like, we're not involved in that at all. Yep. Yeah. And so I'm sure you worked out all the stats for this creature, and
we spent the whole session me just rolling against.
Yeah. Unfortunately, everything turned out the way it did. No Jenga blocks were pulled in the course of the battle. If they had been, I don't know what we could have done to ameliorate the situation, because I don't know what the details of the battle should have been. And also, this was like a 30th level monster. We're just shy of 20.
Yeah.
10 level difference in D&D. Squish. We are less than minions in that sort of situation. So they successfully defeat the monster, and they do the looting that they were going to do, that history recorded them as having done, and then they proceeded on to Allen Way.
I should just mention one little event
that
happened.
Yes.
While they were camping, I don't remember if it was first, second night, doesn't remember.
Yeah.
Aurora was wakened by Kylenar, past Kylenar, saying, "Psst, Aurora, wake up." And he convinced her to go for a walk with him so she didn't wake up everyone else. And he proceeded to start asking her questions about whether they ever got together after after all the events of this, which Aurora was very good at telling him that she can't tell him anything about the future. He was very persistent, but she finally convinced him to go. And then as he was walking, he turned back and was like, "But okay, just let me. Do we ever, And she was like, "No, I have no idea what you're talking about." And he walked off dejectedly.
Yeah.
She woke up Cricket. Do you know what it means when a man says, "Did we ever,
And as I recall, I basically told her the birds and the bees right then and there. Yeah.
She's just like, "That's so biological. Doesn't he know that I'm a star?"
And then we speculated around the table a little bit about how stars work that way. They're all related, so it'd be kind of gross if they had children amongst themselves. So what's up with that? It's weird. Stars, man. So anyway, the past party moved on. They flew over the volcanoes. And we were kind of in a quandary because volcanoes utterly terrify us and we hate them with every fiber of our being. And so we can't possibly fly over the volcanoes. What if they reach up and try and eat us? How did Kylenar's party even manage to gather the courage? They must be epic level if they can fly over a volcano. Jeez. So we went around the volcanoes. So it took us a bit longer to get to Allen Way. Though we did hurry ourselves up by having Cricket play that song. What was that name of that song?
Go faster, go faster, go faster.
No. This is a bit of an inside joke at this point that I'm not sure if it will
The night
convey.
begins to shine.
The night begins to shine. Yes, there's an episode of Teen Titans. Now here's a complete digression. It has nothing to do with D&D. Anyway, there's an episode of Teen Titans where Cyborg, one of the characters in Teen Titans, for some reason has become dependent on this particular 80s song called The Night Begins to Shine. He's got an audio cassette in his chest plate. And when you're building a crime-fighting super cyborg, number one priority is a tape player.
I agree.
But anyway, he became completely dependent on this song. He couldn't fight or do anything effective without this song playing. But whenever it was playing, he saw everything in 80s vision. So everything was all neon and like spiky hair and unicorns and wolves and awesome rainbow things.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, we figured since our bronze griffins are,
Tricked out
with neon undercarriage and stuff like that, it must be an 80s kind of thing.
Right.
So, yeah. Anyway.
And now every time they fly their bronze griffins, people start singing that
Night
song.
begins to shine. Anyway.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know all the lyrics either. Well, I'm the bard, so I'm the one doing it, I suppose. And that's how there's a ritual that makes you travel overland faster, and that's what we're using. I'm doing it via The Night Begins to Shine. So we get to Allenbank, and we're following, we catch up with them, I think, pretty quickly.
It was going to be tricky getting in because of all the like anti-shape changing stuff, and the fact that some of you haven't been invented yet. But Aurora just like sweet talked the guard, and they just kind of walked through while she was talking to him, and he was just like totally like smitten, and he asked her to meet him for supper or lunch or something, and she's like, yeah, that sounds great, but I might be too busy doing a really important thing, so if I don't show up, it's not you. And then they just walked into the city, having walked past all the security checkpoints.
But she's probably going to try and meet him if she can. It's Aurora. She actually wants to have dinner with this guy. I'm sure.
And they met at the rendezvous point, which was the El Cheapo Inn, where the epic level party that Kylenar comes in, and they find them ranting that it was 10 copper pieces at night and how that's highway robbery, and it's 10 more copper pieces to store giant bags of treasure. That's unacceptable. But this is the cheapest inn in the whole city, and I can't believe I have to pay 10 copper.
Yep. Meanwhile, our party comes in, and we're like, we're not really keeping track of our money for things like this, so we'll pay whatever the thing is.
So
it's 10 gold pieces.
They charged them 10. And Kylenar, they said, we're not really keeping track of that. And I was like, oh, I wish. We have to keep track of all these little expenses and how many arrows we have.
Yeah, and I was like, oh man, do you have to worry about encumbrance too? Oh, you've got a bad DM. Because we don't pay attention to encumbrance. Yeah.
Well, that reminds me of, I think this happened back at the Science City, but you guys were talking to, I think it was Rook, it doesn't matter who, but he was talking about how he had so many consumables they've been saving forever because he didn't want to use them up, and now it's like the end and like there's nothing to use them on. He's like, here, do you want like 20 healing potions? But they didn't want to mess with time, so they didn't take any.
So the Kylenar party, the past party, starts planning out their what they're going to do, and we have to plan out how we're going to interfere with it in the lightest possible way. And so we're sort of pondering. We're talking with future Kylenar because he went through that. He knows basically the gist of the adventure they're going to go on.
It's a little bit hazy because he did have part of his soul eaten during the thing and lose like 20 levels in the process, but he still remembers it decently. It's just not, it's a bit hazy.
Yeah. And so we're sort of thinking about how us as we're 19th level right now, and dealing with 30th level minions even is just, way out of our reach.
All you need is a fighter, turns on an auto damage or a ball.
I don't know. Level 30 minions probably have some weird thing or something. Auto damage doesn't hurt them.
I think if you actually encountered a minion, I would do something special for it.
Yeah.
I would give it like at least 20 hit points or something.
Yeah. So
it would still be low, but
So anyway, we're like, if we follow these guys through the dungeon, it's going to be super duper risky. Not only will we be potentially interfering with everything they're doing, but if any monster just happens to glance over their shoulders and notice us back there, like that, wipe us out. So what we're really racking our brains, and John gets an idea, but he's the DM, and so you can see him just like bursting at the seams with this idea that he has for how the party can make this work, and it's something we should know. The problem is we've reached the point where we have such a huge inventory of miscellaneous things we've picked up over the course of our adventure that even though our characters in world should totally legitimately remember all these things because they're important, awesome things. We, the players, just have lost track of some of the things we've picked up. And so there was an item.
We've had a few hiatuses too, so...
There's some time dilation.
So we actually have an item in our party inventory that is absolutely perfect that we have forgotten about. And John eventually just told us what the item was, and then we figured out what the plan was based on, it's
All right, what was the item?
It's the thing we picked up on the free table when we were in the Ood lands, sneaking into the thinly disguised BioWare building there to stop them from activating the AnyBook.
Right.
It's a pair of portals, the cloth sheets. One's orange and one's blue. Where you put the sheet down and then put the other sheet down, and then they become like a teleport pad one to the other. This is a magical technology that has been lost.
Right.
There's no portals.
Yeah.
Teleport isn't a thing in this setting. So.
Yeah. Except the short-range combat teleporting.
Yeah.
Just like in Dragon Age.
Yeah.
It's like no such thing as teleport, but you can do this thing where you go like that.
Well, I think they have basically the exact same intention, and that is, why don't we just teleport the whole army in? Why don't you just teleport in? Like, it ruins so many like interesting things if you can teleport.
Yeah. Though when I was in the Ood times, I researched the teleport circle ritual. So Cricket could well be the only person in the. I think did Serendipity also use your teleport?
I forget, but
I know I was really gung ho on the idea of picking up like rituals and knowledge and stuff. That was my thing. I didn't want to buy treasure. I wanted to buy ritual books. So anyway, because I think that sort of thing will help out the Empire most of all. But anyway.
Yeah, well, the thing I like about the orange and blue portals is like you can't just teleport to a place you've never been. You actually have to take one. It's like a two-sided thing where you have to actually go there somehow, and then now you have boot.
Yeah. Boot. So what we decided we'd do to minimally disrupt the timeline is we would talk with Past Aurora, because we know Past Aurora will make it through. We're going to give her one of the two portal things. We know what the big room that the final boss is in is like. So we will ask her. We won't tell her, wait until your whole party is dead and then put this down.
That was the real crux of the problem is like, that's the obvious instruction, but that's going to be a major Jenga block problem, not only for telling her, but like as she's going, can she hold it together? What's she gonna do? Like that's.
She'll constantly be telling everyone, "I'll always remember you," and that's gonna really clue them in. And
like that's Aurora. How to get her to put down the teleport pad when all of her friends are dead without telling her all your friends are gonna die.
Right.
So we described the final boss battle room to her.
Okay.
Because simply having a description of the room isn't really going to affect anything. Right. She won't know until she gets there, and then it's like.
And they didn't even tell her it was. They actually did a really good job of being very vague. They didn't tell her it was a final boss room. They just told her when you're in this room.
When you reach this room, put this cloth down on the ground.
Right.
And one of our party will come through. The teleport pad and provide further instructions and support as needed in order to accomplish our small tweak.
Yeah.
And so once they do that, Cricket is going to be the one that goes through. I managed to convince them to let Cricket once again.
Are you going to pretend to be Aurora?
No. I could, but I'm not going to. They probably have all sorts of see-through hat of disguise things, and then if they see me deceiving, then that's going to make more trouble than simply just be Cricket. Yeah, that's always been a bit of a tricky thing here is, we have to deceive these people, but they are 10 levels above us. So
their campaign villain is shapeshifters.
So
I mean, basically the party has followed the tack of being completely honest with them, but giving them as minimal information as possible.
It's like, greetings, we are here to deceive you. We have very good reasons for doing so, I assure you. We can't tell you what those reasons are, but, it's been a bit of a tricky line
a
to
tower
walk.
of blocks.
We've managed to walk the line fairly well. And in fact, since it's been like a week since we were at the Psychic City, the Jenga blocks that were pulled there have reset. And so we're going into this with an intact Tower of Time. So we actually have a little bit of wiggle room here, which will be nice. So anyway, so the plan is Cricket will go through the teleport pad, and then they will go ahead and have the fight. And Cricket will be as stealthy as she can be, which, not shabby, but up against 10 levels up, so... And then when the key rounds right at the end, when the Void Monster is about to die and everyone else is dead except for Kylenar and Aurora, that's when I'll put down the thing again and I'll get the rest of the party to come through. And then we will swap Aurora for Aurora. Actually, the rest of the party won't come through. We're just going to bring
You just
Aurora.
need
I
Aurora.
thought Aurora was
Yeah.
going to pick it up and have again.
Yeah, because
And then you were going to signal her to put it
She's
down
there.
again, and she would disappear, and the other Aurora
Yeah.
would pop back.
Yeah,
so
we'll
it'd
just
be
we'll
like
trade the Auroras
You just
in
trade
the last
Auroras.
round.
You just put you put each Aurora on the teleport pad and then
Yeah, swap, and then the Void Monster attacks our future Aurora, and everything works out, except everyone's dead. But, you know, the world is saved.
right.
And that should ideally draw the minimum Jenga blocks,
this is when I took my dungeon that I had planned and crumpled it up into the garbage.
because we're not going to be going through the dungeon.
They were like, yeah, we could, with that teleport thing, we could just sit in the hotel the whole time.
Yeah.
And then just like appear at the last second. And then someone was like, well, wouldn't it be more interesting and safer to follow, just in case to follow behind? And they're just like, no, I'm really digging this sitting around in the hotel thing.
In fact, John pointed out a further complication. The Panadar has a limited range of area that it can protect against Jenga pulls. So, Cricket's going to have to take the Panadar with her
Right.
when she goes into the dungeon,
Yeah.
which means the rest of the party is going to be unprotected from the vagaries of time.
Mm.
If they do even the slightest tampering,
Yeah.
their Jenga tower will auto-collapse. I guess Cricket's won't, because she'll be in the Panadar. Their tower will auto-collapse, and something horrible will happen.
So for a brief moment during the final battle, they will have to be on their best behavior.
I was suggesting, we shouldn't even be waiting in a hotel. We should dig a hole and
Yeah.
bury ourselves in it.
Yeah.
And that way try and be completely isolated from the outside world.
Yeah.
So that
Except for that
absolutely
flagstone that you're going to end up digging up.
As long as you dig it up while you still have Panadar.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, you can't do anything.
Yep. The slightest talk to someone, or if a squirrel is coming along and you
Yeah.
it's like, oh, hey, squirrel, and
What about
it goes
earthworms?
a different way, then, oh, geez, that's ruined everything. Yeah, it's going to be tricky. So yeah, I like the idea of digging a hole and burying ourselves.
Yeah.
To have as little to do with John's awesome dungeon as possible.
One of those little pocket dimensions with the rope trick.
I mean,
Yeah.
to be fair, 30th level monsters won't completely squish you flat. They won't miss you.
Yeah.
That's the problem you'll have. Is they'll have +5 over on top of you.
And I'm going to be down a couple of healing surges because I'm going to be using this this teleportal thing in a way not entirely as designed. I'm going to be sitting on it, trying to activate it every round after the party goes into the dungeon.
Right.
Because we don't know when
it's going to
be put
ready.
down.
Yeah.
So Cricket's going to be sitting on this thing, triggering a magic item and failing over and over and over again for hours.
You can't scry on them.
There's scry guards and stuff. We've run into lots of problems with that before, so we can't count on that.
Yeah,
Did you guys have telephones?
We do, but again, I don't want to count on anything.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the plan was maybe, I don't know if you decided to give it to Aurora or not. There was a thought of if that works, that's great.
Yeah.
But the void creatures have proven in the past to be very good at warding,
all kinds of stuff,
scrying and stuff like that with just erasing things. So it seems unlikely that it's going to work. The teleport only has a chance. They don't even know if the teleport's going to work.
Yeah,
Right.
But it
it's
has
hard.
some chance because since teleport isn't a thing,
Right.
it wouldn't necessarily be warded against.
And if it doesn't work, we can try again.
Right.
We haven't yet tampered with the key part of time, so we won't have any problems with overlapping
Yeah.
interference.
You just have to.
Yeah.
Okay, not the cheap in.
Yeah. No,
Let's go to the expensive fancy.
We were sort of half jokingly talking about how to possibly rescue Kylenar's party on a second go round, and suggesting that maybe we can just mob the Void Monster with hundreds of copies of ourselves looping over and over again. Team up with ourselves 100 times over,
Right,
and then maybe we can overwhelm the Void Monster or
Right.
something and defeat it straight up.
Wouldn't you guys already know if that was going to succeed?
Victorious shout! Victorious shout! Victorious shout!
Because the first time you go to try,
Yeah.
there isn't hundreds of you. Then
Yeah. It would be an interesting experiment. Oh yeah, there was one other thing that happened that was not really a party-wide thing, but we were in the cheap inn, and so Hank and Aurora ran down to the kitchen to start making food for everyone. They've never really got the concept of an inn, I don't think. They go and make their own food. Anyway, so Cricket went to try and catch up with them and say, no, let me do all the work. And Croesus stopped her part way and took her aside for a little chat. And Croesus has been thinking.
Yeah.
Now that he's sane and all.
Thinking and drinking.
Yeah.
And drinking and thinking.
Yeah, he's drunk a lot of Makir. And so...
Which, if you recall, it makes you drunk, except it focuses your mind on one topic where you become a super genius, and in every other way you're drunk.
So he's been thinking about Cricket and has come to basically a conclusion of two possibilities. One is she's actually a person, in which case, poor Cricket, she's brainwashed, we have to help her, etc., blah, blah, blah. The other, maybe, she actually is, as she says, a goat that's been given human form and is not actually a person and is really just a creature that has been given purpose by the Empire of Flowers and the Temple of Freedom. In which case, he'll have to kill her because she is serving the Serpent Queen, essentially, and doing the Serpent Queen's will in the world. And so Cricket, listening patiently to all this, says, well, yes, I am not a person, but if you try to kill me, I will kill you. And then you won't be able to fix everything, will you? So maybe think further. And apparently I surprised everyone at the table with that. But yeah, Croesus don't own Cricket. He's not allowed to kill her. She'll totally kill him back. We actually talked on the car ride home a bit about how the fight would go down. It would be, I think the odds would be stacked in Croesus' favor. Cricket is a helper character. She has a lot of buff ally type things. So she's got a bit of a deficit when it comes to straight up one-on-one fighting. But she does have some tricks up her sleeve. And Croesus is built in a somewhat supporting role as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's also assuming no one else intervenes.
Yeah. That's a big assumption. As I said, my optimum strategy might be to pull an Anthodon and use the first round to just get out of there and sneak back later on. I am multi-classed assassin,
Yeah, well, you have time with Trek, right? So no matter what, if you say that to the end, if you're desperate, you can always time this Trek in, because that's guaranteed to succeed, and then
I get at least one round to get out of there. And I'm very stealthy. And I'm just straight up faster than him.
actually just outrun him.
Yeah. Now, he's got a bunch of abilities to lock down who he's fighting with, so...
A lot of those are like, they lock them down so they can't attack someone else. They don't... Some of them, I guess, do, but not all of them are good for, like, preventing running away.
So I may not be able to actually kill Croesus in a straight-up fight, but I do like my odds of surviving it.
How far can you teleport him when you hit him?
Not super far. A couple of squares. I haven't really focused on buffing that up. Generally, a couple squares is enough. You know, if there's some enemy that's doing horrible things to one of my allies, just a couple squares pushing away is good.
Because if it's more than a move action for him.
He can charge, though. And uses a pole arm.
But charging limits him to a standard action. Like a...
Yeah.
He can move and then a charge.
A basic attack.
You can't move and standard action.
Most of his abilities are defensive, though.
Yeah, it would be a weird fight, because neither of us is really designed to be a solo fighter.
Yeah, his stance, he goes into this basically like a version of total defense, where he spends a standard action on it, and then every attack has a 50% miss chance.
Yeah, and then he's got this other thing that halves the damage.
Yeah, so it'd take a long time.
It'd take a long time,
Yeah, I was going to say, 50% chance doesn't hit, 50% other, if it does hit, he takes half damage.
Right.
Unfortunately, just this level retrained away Whispers of the Dream King.
What was that one?
That was the thing that could make him fall asleep.
Ah.
And then I would coup de grace him. Yeah, it's a good daily on paper, but it came up so rarely that I swapped it out for my new daily. But yeah, if we level up again soon, I may look at, optimizing for Croesus killing just in case. I don't think it's likely.
Well, in his interview, he decided that you were a person, which made him happy, because then he didn't feel like he had to kill you.
Though, of course, Cricket is not so happy about that.
I did agree that Cricket had an irrefutable purpose to serve, though. That was the crux of the issue, though.
So yeah, our plan should go off without a hitch. I can't see what could possibly go wrong. And the things which could go wrong, I can see ways of fixing. So, anyway, that was our tale.
Aurora did the telling of Aurora the plan, if I recall. And that was critical because she made a huge diplomacy check.
Oh, right.
Because it's going to be critical that she is still willing to go through with the plan, right? When it's like, okay, when Cricket signals you, put down the thing no matter what. And they're like in the final boss, the boss is like health bars flashing red.
Yeah.
All her friends are dead except for Kylenar. And she has to waste her standard action putting down the teleport thing.
Yeah. And standing
She has
on
to
it.
be very ready to do it no matter what.
Right.
To some degree, that might actually help, because she'll be thinking, oh, people from the future are going to come and save the day. I don't know what they're going to do, but they said they'd do something to make things better.
In your darkest hour.
Yep.
Lay this on the floor. We'll fix it.
It occurred to me, a major potential Jenga block thing is that Kylenar, past Kylenar, has so much information that we've given him. But one of the rituals that Serendipity, Bengal Sergeant or Top Tower Shepherd Time Doomlayer recently picked up is a memory erasing ritual. We need to have him helpless in order to use it, but we'll be coming right out of the final battle with. So we may be able to defeat Kylenar.
Make future Kylenar knock out past Kylenar.
Past Kylenar has been insulting future Kylenar, so maybe he'll go along with that.
Yeah, he was just constantly like, I don't know. I don't care what happens. I'm not letting myself go like that.
So I think future Kylenar might even at this point be up for it.
Screw that little twerp.
We're going to turn him into me. That's the worst vengeance.
Someone, people kept calling him Robin Hood Kylenar or whatever because I said he was like the past one was like Errol Flynn, which you don't associate with Kylenar, you know at all. But then someone came up with the idea that past Kylenar is Errol Flynn and future Kylenar is Kevin Costner. It actually kind of fits too with how I imagine them. So.
And the postman.
It's going to be hilarious though if we do that, because the memory erasing ritual does massive hit point damage as well. So we're the good guys. We're going to have past Kylenar tied up and repeatedly casting a spell on him that brings him down within an inch of his life.
He might be willing if it's important enough.
I don't know. I don't know. Knowing Kylenar, he's very confident that he knows what's best, even though he's an idiot. So yeah, tricky. But that's something we will deal with once the end of all things has been dealt with. Or even just, screw it, flip the table, let the Jenga Tower fall. Who cares at this point? We've saved the world. Sure, it's going to mess with Kylenar's timeline, but
Screw that guy.
yeah.
The plan is this void beast will encounter itself.
Yes.
And eat itself.
Yes. There's basically two possible outcomes we've come up with, and they both result in the world being okay. So it's good.
Kylenar's plan is that the Void Monster is like embedded in a certain spot in Aurora's soul. So when it goes to eat Aurora's soul again, it'll embed itself in the same spot, eat itself, and destroy itself.
An alternative possibility that we've speculated is that it won't destroy itself, but it'll still kill Aurora, as it did the first time around. And then she will go and wake up under the tree and be now a loop with no beginning and end, which means it's neutralized either way. And that means that we keep the old Aurora, who's 30th level, so bonus.
Whatever it goes to eat the section of soul, and then goes, oh hey, that's different, and eats a different section.
Well, then we get the time loop scenario. We just kill Aurora, or she dies, because presumably having your soul eaten damages you. I mean, the original time through, Aurora died after having the Void Monster eat part of her soul, so presumably that'll happen again.
And then
So
she
yeah.
dies, and then she's carrying around a second chunk of world-ending void monster.
But as part of a time loop, as consistent time loop, so
But every time, and then eventually there will be no extra soul left. What happens when the void monster eats the last bit of Aurora's soul? And there's like 10,000 world-ending monsters contained within her.
I didn't notice that possibility because I'm too used to things making sense. That is a bit of a risk, but our best bet is to feed Aurora to this thing, so that's what we're going to do. And it goes awry, we'll just have to think of something else.
We still have some time.
Oh yeah, we have all the time in the world. We can go back to the Oodlands again.
Yeah, as long as causality doesn't assert itself. Which the Panadar protects you from.
Right, to some degree. I mean, we have made changes to the global world line conditions before.
Mm-hmm.
Minor ones, but we delayed the apocalypse.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty big.
Yeah, it's not like you can't pull any Jenga blocks. You just don't want to pull too many.
And we completely rewrote the dark future.
Yeah. You fix the obelisk?
We may have. That was inadvertent. We really should pop it forward a bit and see what the current state of the future timeline is after we're done here.
So I think the hardest thing about meeting myself has been not to tell myself about our brother, my brother, our brother of mine that we share. Because I really feel like everyone else seems to have forgotten about him. But the threat that he poses to this planet is as significant, if not more, than the end of all things. He could be the end of all things for all I know. And yet I can't tell myself anything about it. I would have had a whole nother decade to prepare, to think of something. What can I do? But I can't do it. I just have to trust that when I get to the point where I'll need to save us from him, that I'll know what to do. Right now, I have no idea. It's terrifying. Also, I had a really weird sense of deja vu this morning when I was eating fish. It was odd. I felt like I'd cooked that same fish before. Oh, so weird. I hate it when that happens.
You know, I'm pretty sure Cricket's person. I'm almost certain. I think that's a very good thing.
This is really weird, Aurora and Aurora talking to each other. I mean, I'm just really glad that I only have to deal with one Aurora at a time.
Hey, I heard that.
Hi, Aurora. Our Aurora. Future Aurora.
So, this is interesting. Even though me and Aurora have been traveling together for so long, I feel like we have a closer bond now that we know that we were traveling together before in a previous life. Even though neither of us remember it, just knowing it is just like, what are the odds? That's really cool. I'm glad I'm your friend, Aurora.
Me too, Hank and Astria.
Hugs. So, with that stronger bond, makes me even more worried for Aurora. I really hope she makes it out of this okay. We're gonna have to do our best and hope for the best.
We'll
see.
Makes it out of this okay? I'll just wake up under a tree, right?
Well, yeah.
And then nothing, end of all things will be gone.
Well, it better be.
And I might even remember the previous life this time,
I
right?
sure hope so.
You don't think anything else could happen?
Well, I don't, but it's hard not to be concerned, right? This is a catastrophic event.
You think there's a possibility I might not wake up?
Well, no.
Like, wake up at all?
Hadn't occurred to me.
Anywhere? Cricket? Is that possible? Excuse me. Hank, I gotta go talk to Cricket.